All right, go over to YouTube's. Wait, wait. There we go. All right, cool. Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to episode 895 of the Black Brain Trust. This is Black Cultural Intelligence, the Afrofuturistic art aesthetic. And with me, I have the nameless protagonist.
What's going on, everyone?
How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty well. Just another day, enjoying this day off.
Yeah, it's just another day talking about Afrofuturism, right?
I'm gonna argue we've been in it since at least the '70s. So
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something, man. We're gonna delve deep into this. You and I have been conversing about this, say over the last what 2 to 3 weeks or something rather,
hmm,
right? And I think I don't know. We have some discoveries to share with people tonight, right?
I think it'll be interesting and some confirmation, perhaps, of what other people have been suspecting, essentially, from
Yeah.
what's going
Um.
on in
s-
a lot of the popular media and fiction. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Right. Right. And we're gonna touch on various artistic themes, right? Various artistic themes that kind of lead us to the point where we are now, right? Because in these artistic themes that we're going to be talking about, there's a reality basis in it, right? When we talk about, say, like steampunk, dieselpunk, decopunk, cyberpunk, right? Which is kind of like the era that we're in now. It's still like cyberpunk, right?
Yeah, and there's even a lot of different derivative branches that are coming from some of those roots, tributary
Hmm.
concepts, if you will.
Right, right.
Mixing Asia's influence in regard to that, especially Japan, which is pretty interesting,
Yeah,
especially as it relates to cyberpunk in particular.
right. Well, let's start with steampunk, right? So, in a previous live stream, if you guys look into the and you know what, let me pull it up. And I'll go ahead and post the link. And just real quick, if you guys can post a 700, that's the number, 700, right? 700. If you guys can put 700 in the chat to let me know the sound and everything is good, because we kind of started getting into this, but I do want to do a quick sound check. So 700, that'll let me know everything is sounding kosher. All right. So if you guys can do that for me, I would appreciate it. Um, so with the I think it was the steampunk and mechanical animals live stream that we did, right?
Hmm.
So we spoke about um Elijah McCoy, right? The steam engine oiling mechanism, right? Where you get the real McCoy uh terminology from, right? A
Yes.
pioneer in that era of technology at the time, right? And what we want to do is correlate actual folks who were hands-on in the technology of the time and then how it influenced art, right? So for example, in the steampunk era, you do have your Elijah McCoys, right? Then when we get into, say, Dieselpunk, right? So everything was like, this is where you get your P-51 Mustangs and right, all of the dog fighters and the,
Yeah,
you know
we're
what I
talking
mean?
about the World War I era, essentially,
Yeah,
to give people a frame of reference.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yes. And behind that you had George Washington Carver, who essentially invented the peanut oil, which was essentially the fuel source for the primordial diesel engine, right? That Rudolph Diesel invented, a French engineer, right? We get into Decopunk. There's a few brothers. I can't recall the name at their names at the moment. One is responsible for a few of the iconic um, buildings and structures in Los Angeles, the Beverly Hills Hotel, for example, and I think there's one other one. I'm trying to remember his name, right? And then there was a brother who designed a lot of iconic buildings in San Francisco, right? And that would be referencing, say, like the Decopunk era, because like did you ever see like Dick Tracy?
Yes.
Like
And I think a
yeah.
good example, since people may be more familiar with this more recent IP,
Hmm.
if you consider the time Tony Stark's father was giving demonstrations of what images of the future would look like when they go back to their origin stories, Tony Stark being Iron Man.
Hmm.
Make mild spoilers if you haven't seen the series yet. But the particular time period where they're talking about making the super serum, when they created for the original time period of Captain America, that interlinking part that really gets into technology from the Nazis' perspective and what was going on with the original formation of Shield and these ideas of the future and the real shiny looking Tin Man sort of visage that you almost get a Jetson-y kind of feel from.
Hmm.
This is that interesting hybridization between, well, I guess it's before Cyberpunk, but after the Diesel era, that interesting space between 1920 and 1940, where there was just this interesting, very specific technological boom. And I think that's pretty interesting because when you correlate that to what's going on in Black America at the time,
Hmm.
we are at the cusp of really gaining some momentum in, I guess, our industrial process. We've made the vehicles, we've made the cars. We're talking the Harlem Renaissance era at the moment.
Hmm.
And this is all still before, we get folks like the Tuskegee Airmen. So we were
Okay,
very
I was
active
gonna
in
go
that
there.
environment. Yep.
That's another component right there, like where you have the real thing, right? And
Mm.
then, because isn't there some black comic out? What's it? Based on the Tuskegee Airmen. Kevin Hart's put money. He put money behind them.
Oh, I
Uh,
wasn't aware of that, but I know they've been talking about that for a while. I didn't know Kevin Hart.
yeah, Kevin Hart's involved with
Okay.
that now.
Okay. Because I know, what was it, Spielberg? Or was it
Somebody did a movie.
yeah, it was
I think it
Red
was Spielberg.
Tails,
No, I think it was. I think it was. Was
or
it?
was it
I think
Lucas? Maybe it was
no, it was
maybe it was
Lucas. I
Lucas.
want to say it was.
Yeah,
It
George
might have been
Lucas.
George Lucas.
I think
Yeah.
it was called Red Tails. But I think the problem was when they did it, they kind of, it had a cheesiness to it that
Yeah.
was really popular with the Marvel and DC films at the time. And I think it kind of blunted the historical precedence behind it all and didn't really do it as much justice.
Justice.
I think
Right.
it left a real negative aftertaste with regard to that. So I can see them wanting to revisit that.
Hmm. Did you ever see Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow?
No, I didn't.
That's the movie you got to see, because that's what you're talking about. That convergence,
Hmm.
sort of steam and diesel.
Came out in '04, right?
Yes.
Oh, I've seen clips of this. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
You got to look it up,
Yeah,
man.
that,
Yeah, you got
yeah,
to watch that. Yeah.
yeah.
That
Okay.
that's and it's got some deco punk in it too. The way, aesthetically, the way that they did the film, right?
Right,
That's very deco punkish. What's the anime? Big O.
right.
Okay, that's deco punk.
Yeah.
When you look at this, how it's styled, um, the Adam West Batman.
Yeah, with the way the cars are
Yeah,
done in
that's
that
deco.
style. Yeah.
That's deco. Um, I'm trying to give other examples, and then we went kind of hardcore. Remember when you and I were talking? The Ames office, Earl and Ray Ames.
Yeah.
They kind of Earl and Ray Ames, the two gentlemen. I'm gonna look them up. Uh, they were kind of like the real world inspiration for, say, like the creative stylings of like specifically the deco punk uh, um, uh, sort of artistic era, right before we start getting into cyber,
Mm.
right? So, what we're doing is we're just kind of making everything analogous, right, in terms of the various eras of artistic impressions. And then what we're looking at is now we're going into this Afrofuturism paradigm. And, I think now is the time better than ever where we really should crack the nugget. Not to say that nobody else is, right? Like there's other people doing um, Afrofuturism content and talking about it. However, I think what we're trying to get is more behind the psychology.
There's a lot of overlapping and interdependent components to this because the active word, as you highlighted before, is future and futurism. So the term or the active component here are modalities of viewing, understanding, and adopting and anticipating the future, which again, for human beings, our ability to create models of the future essentially is what separates us from a lot of the rest of the animal kingdom, whether
Mhm.
it be closer in relative distance or into the distant future. Our ability to anticipate the future and make adjustments accordingly towards it, animated by the spirit of imagination, is really what we're discussing here. And I think a lot of us do this kind of intuitively. It's just, I guess, we're applying a couple words to it for the sake of having a starting point and a point of reference going forward.
Right. So let's do this, man. So let's get into this. Let's get into the Afrofuturism side of things. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question, and so while you answer it, I gotta look for a video and I gotta pull it up, because I think it's an actual physical representation of where we're gonna go with this, right? But in terms of what we're looking at, like from a psychological standpoint, right? You know, ideas and imagery starts in the mind, right? And the imagination is typically what conjures these things up that gives people um the inspiration to do something, right? Like,
Mm,
people, it was a crazy idea, and then out now everybody loves it and shit. But it started with just like an idea or a thought in the mind, right?
mm.
So I mean, what say you about what are the thoughts, or like kind of like what modality, as you were telling me, what is it that needs to kind of be present to kind of think in this futuristic paradigm where you think in terms of idea creation manifestation, right? And it's utilizing real-time tools, 3D printing, desktop CNC, all that kind of shit, right?
Mm.
What has to be sort of like the mechanism to push it to that direction?
I think that a lot of this gets contextualized by what people call culture. And even though I guess America, with regard to that, is rather new, and it follows this pattern of recreating what it had from where it came from. So what you get, especially in the general new world, are different patterns and rhythms of older ideas that tailor to the needs of the present. For
Hmm.
example, if you take a look at, and I'm digressing slightly to kind of really speak to the mechanism at play here from a collective standpoint, because I think that you can engage in it as an individual, and I think that there's inevitability that it occurs in aggregate from a particular people. When you look at a place like Brazil, and when it was going through its process of naturalization and nationalization, I should say, and really getting caught up to speed to an industrial national power that can interface with the rest of the world attempting to do the same thing. What it found itself doing was drawing from the majority of its population, which sizably were former descendants of slaves from the continent, particularly the western portions on that Gold Coast, especially Angola. And when it decided to look at things like how it would infer dance and its martial discipline,
Hmm.
concepts like samba and capoeira came to the surface, so much so that the shadow of Africa was so prominent with it that it turned off other European nations that were attempting to get Brazil on the same page. And quiet as it's kept, that ended up being a big surface reason as to why when the pre-Nazi Germany was showing up to Brazil, they were originally scheduled to be part of the camp. But because there was such a deep element of the continent, the shadow of Africa was still there due to its population, it overshadowed the numerical presence of the shadow of Europe. So it's interesting seeing how these different building blocks help formulate an identity. So when we tie that to what Afrofuturism can look like here in America for the ADO social complex, foundational Black Americans, people who would relate to the greater African diaspora as a whole in the English speaking West, I think you get different elements of what we relate to being projected out into the future. And for us, you've got themes like sports, you've got concepts like Pan Africanism that represent sort of shadows of the past with regards to a image of a Black republic that never quite formed, but
Right.
still is spoken around too. So we can see that in motifs like in Black Panther.
I was gonna say I was just about to go there, dude. Like
Well,
Black, like yeah, Black Panther is really kind of like the CTs, if you will, of what that looks like. I think that's why it kind of struck people so hard, I guess.
yeah, the environment, the ambience behind finding a balance between advanced technology, synergy with nature, and context with the people. And even with Wakanda, you had multiple ethnicities that were combining to form a unified idea of Wakandan. And then looking at their way of life and seeing how it still made sense contextually to the rest of the land, being able to harness energy from the elements there, being able
Mhm.
to have the technology emulate things they can identify in nature, like the ships that they were flying in, etc.
Right. Now I'm pulling some stuff up here. There we go. All right. So let's do this here. So this is kind of like maybe like a visual of maybe what this all looks like right here. I'm gonna share my screen. Here it is right here. Okay. So this is from VOA
Point a
Africa.
smartphone at a mural in Oakland, California, and it just might speak to you.
As I said before, we don't plan to backtrack history. It's impossible anyway. That we need more technological developments. But who owns it is another question.
It's a bit of technological magic that archivist Damien McDuffie has brought to dozens of sites around the city through his augmented reality app, Black Terminus AR.
In the morning, like you eat rich. The camera is using computer vision. They see a target, and then I and my tech tells the target what to do. So when you see this image, play this video.
McDuffie uses AR to make Black history more accessible, and he hopes others will do the same. To celebrate the Juneteenth holiday, he invited an international group of 155 artists and technologists to Oakland for collaborative tech training and art making.
That's the demystification process that we're doing with AR. It's like, hey, this is for everybody. Hey, it's actually not that difficult. Hey, you don't have to have a computer science degree to be involved in it.
Artist Chelwek Chella plans to use AR to expand storytelling in the murals and graphic novels she creates back home in Kenya.
Our project is called Hadithi Heroes. Hadithi is like stories. So we're telling stories of Kenyan heroes because everyone knows. If you ask most of the kids back at home, they'll be like Spider-Man, Superman, but they don't know of our heroes who actually like fought for independence.
Deep into the soul.
Yeah, but we're telling it in a friendlier, kid-friendly, fun version.
Oakland Middle School teacher Tracy Grayson brought family photographs to work with.
A lot of the stories behind these photographs, I think, are important to capture. So I was looking for a way
That's
to be able to
Carter
tell
G.
those
Woodson.
stories to my nieces and nephews in a way that would engage them. and then also to bring this this technology to my students.
Artist James Shields will use what he learns here to augment his work gathering stories from Black farmers and others across the rural South.
I think it's just opening the door to really give us opportunity to like honor our people, honor our history, and bring it into the future for future generations to engage.
The Juneteenth collaborators say they will be taking home new skills and cutting-edge technology, along with the assurance that Black voices will be included as the way we tell stories evolves. Matt Dibble, VOA News, Oakland.
So, what say you, Nameless? Augmented reality?
That's exactly what that is. And even with augmented reality, all you're looking at is yet another plane to transfer information and storage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can gauge the sophistication of a civilization based on the way it harnesses energy and in turn communicates. And these are just additional vectors to do exactly that, to communicate information, store it, save it, and project it across different mediums. And it provides an entirely different plane at that point to interface with regard to that. You begin to imply that there is a extra dimensional space that you can acquire information from that can take up tangible space as well. And I have to put tangible in quotes because what we're kind of hinting at is a virtual real estate possibility.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. It's sort of like, doesn't this kind of open shit up?
Right.
And I think that if we see actual examples, right? And I got to salute and shout out Mike V for sending this to me. Right, that's kind of one of the things that kind of spurred this. To be honest with you, when he sent that to me, and I sent that to my lady friend also, and she was like, "That is fucking dope." And I was like, "Isn't it?"
That's just barely scratching the surface.
And we're that's
barely,
bro.
Hey, I'm gonna give you something in the back chat, and you can let me know if you want to post that in the main chat.
Okay, hold on one second.
I think you'll understand while I'm linking it to you.
All right, let me see, because I do have one other. Sentences. Yeah, sure, I'll post it over there for those of y'all that want to check it out.
And you see whose site it is, right?
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, okay, well, I mean, it's their site, so
right.
I think it's an interesting read.
I think it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think it's a
literally.
Read. All right.
It's literally what we're talking about. I mean, these are things that they may seem like they're way off into the future, but for a lot of these things, and not even getting into some tinfoil hat type of things, this is how these ideas come into fruition. And when you introduce these new technologies, there's new possibilities that become possible as a result of that. There could be older ideas that just simply weren't as feasible as they could be, such as when they start, for example, and I'll give you a more acute illustration of this. One of the biggest problems they've been having with the chip technology is the smaller these circuit boards get, the smaller the circuits and connectors get, the least accurate they become, just due to quantum physics. In general, the likelihood that something is going to be a 1 or a 0 is subject to particle wave theory. But in order to reduce the increase the accuracy of that, you can introduce the concept of qubits. So now there's multiple states to influence the outcome of a 1 or a 0, which increases its accuracy. And if you've got this massive exponential amount of data you can tap into, you've got other technologies such as video cards now that may not even need to be processed on the technological or the display side. A lot of that computational factor can possibly be done in the cloud. Yeah. So now you've got other type of receptive devices that can be much lighter. They can be smaller. They can not necessarily conduce as much heat. So you've got like glass displays. They may
Well,
open
Mike
the
talks about.
possibility. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say Mike talks about edge computing oftentimes as well, right? Because that's what's most prevalent in what I do, right? Over
Mm,
on the IoT side, where everything is basically connecting, like so edge is like the layer in between, say, cellular and cloud data, right? That in between part,
mm,
that's called
yeah.
edge computing, right?
Okay.
So there's a day we've done a few live streams where we've talked about that, but that is what is what you're talking about there, in like the IoT space, cellular to the cloud, and all that kind of shit, right? The communication between the two happens in edge, right?
Mm.
Um, so that's very localized, say, to even what I do.
Yeah, and what I mean is potentially that's a disruptive thing where there are all these other ideas that could have been brought forward, but you get limited by your available means of acquiring that particular information. We talked about this before, where certain things just weren't possible with 2G, but then suddenly 3G shows up and
And then
everything changed.
everything changes, and then 4G happens, and then 5G, and you
Hmm.
see it. You see what rolls out as
Right,
a result of these capabilities, right?
right.
So then when we have this, it's like I said, now we're kind of scratching the surface of what that guy's doing, because now we're looking at the possibilities.
Right, because you are now enabled in different dimensions now, not just even directions, but planes with which to express data and information.
Right.
For risk of being redundant when I say that, like I guess I'm separating information that has a organic origin from an original thought in a person and just things that are byproduct of that in the form of memory.
Hmm.
And I'm putting that in the non-biological term, memory.
Right.
Shout out to Ram.
Wait. Okay, there it goes. Okay. I was like, what the hell happened to the sound? Okay. So I do have another piece I wanted to show a few minutes of, right? This is another brother that Mike shot my way. Um, he's an architect. And so what he does is he uses the actual I don't know how to describe this, right? His name is Didebo Francis Carey. I'm trying to pronounce that right. Give me a second. I'm gonna share my screen. And let me do this here. Let me pull the sound off of this. Oops, wrong screen. Here we go.
Kia's projects have not only captured the attention of the design community, but also left a lasting impact on the communities they serve. So let's explore 8 fascinating projects worked on by Dibedo Francis Kira. The Gando Primary School was built to expand the sparse network of schools in the province of Boulgou, in the east of Burkina Faso, and address 2 characteristic problems of many educational buildings in the area: poor lighting and ventilation. Francis Keir created a design that resolved these issues directly within the parameters set by cost, climate, resource availability, and construction feasibility. Clay is abundantly available in the region and traditionally used in house building, so a clay-cement hybrid was used to create structurally robust bricks. These are not only easy to produce, but also provide thermal protection against the hot climate. Despite their durability, however, the walls must be protected from damaging rains by an overhanging roof. In Burkina Faso, corrugated metal roofs are a popular solution, although they absorb direct sunlight and overheat the interior of the buildings. Care's design solves this problem by pulling the roof of the Gando Primary School away from the learning space of the interior. A dry stacked brick ceiling is introduced in between, allowing for maximum ventilation. Cool air is pulled in from the interior windows, while hot air is released out through perforations in the clay roof. This also significantly reduces the ecological footprint of the school by alleviating the need for air conditioning. For this project, traditional building techniques and modern engineering methods were combined to produce the best quality building solution while simplifying construction and future maintenance. The success of the project can be attributed to the close involvement of the local population in the building process. With the support of his community and funds raised through Kier Foundation EV, Kier was able to realize his very first building. It marks the birth of Kier architecture and Kier's ongoing collaboration with his community in Gando through the Kier Foundation. Kier's design for the Burkina Faso National Assembly showcases his ability to blend tradition with modernity. The building's undulating roof, inspired by local village architecture, not only creates a visually striking structure, but also helps with natural ventilation and rainwater collection, promoting sustainability. Since 2000, the Serpentine Galleries annually commission an international architecture practice to design the Serpentine Pavilion in Kensington Gardens, London. In 2017, they chose Francis Kier. Taking inspiration from the great tree in his hometown of Gando, under which members of the community meet to reflect on the day, Kier's design is based on creating this sense of community while connecting people with nature. A great overhanging roof canopy made of steel and transparent skin covers the entire footprint of Kier's Serpentine Pavilion, allowing sunlight to enter the space while also protecting it from the rain. Wooden shading elements line the underside of the roof, creating a dynamic shadow effect that changes with the movement of the sun.
Dude,
and
that is crazy.
The wall system is made of prefabricated wooden blocks assembled into triangular modules with slight apertures, giving lightness and transparency to the building enclosure. The curved walls are split into 4 fragments, allowing 4 unique access points to Kier's Serpentine Pavilion. Completely detached from the roof canopy, these elements allow both the air and visitors to freely circulate. At the center of Kier's Serpentine Pavilion is a large opening in the canopy, creating an immediate connection to the sky. When it rains, the roof becomes a funnel channeling water into the heart of the structure. This rain collection acts symbolically, highlighting water as a fundamental resource for human survival and prosperity. In the evening, the canopy becomes a source of illumination. Wall perforations give glimpses of movement and activity inside the pavilion to those outside. In this way, Kier's Serpentine Pavilion becomes a beacon of light, a symbol of storytelling and togetherness. Kier's design for the Leo Surgical Clinic showcases his commitment to improving healthcare infrastructure in underserved areas. The clinic features a combination of traditional clay construction and modern techniques, creating a welcoming and functional space for patients and medical staff. Located in the 3rd most populated city in Burkina Faso, the Lycée Georges Secondary School set a new standard for educational excellence in the region, while providing an inspiring showcase of local building materials applied to an iconic and innovative design.
Amos, do you have anything to say thus far?
I mean, this is still in the theme of what we've been speaking about so far.
Yeah,
I mean,
wanted to let me get your thoughts on this so far.
Yeah, it's the pattern is taking already established predispositions that were adopted to the needs of the people and updating them according to new available technology. But in this instance, it's funny. It's been a bit of a meme lately, where they're not the only ones that have been considering and reconsidering the utilization of mud as a basis to build housing, and especially in regions like that. And it's so funny.
Mud doesn't sound sexy. You gotta say clay.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's got this undertone of savagery, like uncivilized. You know what I'm saying? And then
But
come to find out, it's the most advanced
architecture
option.
behind it. It's like it's so advanced. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, even taking advantage of already established concepts out of nature. It's following this whole idea if it's not broke, why do you need to fix it?
Why do you just improve it, right?
Right. It's keep
Improve upon its design.
And that's the whole thing. You use nature as a point of reference and you emulate it as best you can to suit your needs. And it kind of gets back to some of the information I speak about with regard to my verbal martial arts forms. I get into environmental mastery and I describe environment as kind of like a Venn diagram where you've
Mhm.
got the technological civilization sphere that interfaces with culture, and in between there, you have the environment like a Venn diagram. That middle area is the environment. We're not 100% just one thing. And even with that, you've got the natural environment, which is your ecosystem and things that we don't really have much control over unless you look at HARP, and I won't get into that. You've got your physical environment, which looks a lot like your infrastructure and tangible buildings, is what we're talking about here, and your social environment. And human beings use this concept of environment as a way of interfacing with all these different aspects of nature. So, like where we go, we terraform.
Mm.
And the moment you've got more than one human being there, you start really introducing these elements to it all. So like if you know by our very nature, we terraform. We've seen more often than not, especially on the continent, and people who are in that aboriginal belt between the latitudinal line of Cancer and the
Mhm.
latitudinal line of Capricorn, those, I guess the term the UN wants to use now is first world nations. You know, that's been the theme. This idea that you don't need to over refine if the solution is already there in a natural form. Just flow in
I was
harmony
gonna
with
say
it.
that kind of calls into question, right? What is first, third, and second? What is first world, second world, third world? What is this
No,
shit?
no, no. I don't mean that with regard
No,
to the
I
way the
know, I don't. I
IMF
know
has
you
stated
don't
that.
mean
When I
that.
say
Well,
first world, yeah, when I say first world nation, I just mean it's another term for indigenous. So, like before somebody showed up and colonized in a traditional sense that we understand. So,
yeah,
I'm talking the Mayans, the Incans, folks that are all over the continent. You pick a
what
tribe.
I'm saying, look. Okay, take these buildings right here, dude. We're gonna get back to the video here in just a minute, but check this out, right? Take these buildings right here, right? With the type of um, so cooling, lighting, or
Right,
shading, and all of these things are factored into the functionality of it, right? So
right.
it's pre-thought into its design. Meanwhile, let there be like a 6.0 earthquake happen in California and watch the fucking havoc it wreaks.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Just
this this is something people have been doing. Like I immediately want to consider the great city of Benin before it was burned down by the British. It
right,
was built exactly the same
exactly.
way.
Yeah.
I think it was arguably had one of the biggest perimeter walls, like probably to this day. I think they said it was the most material. There was more material involved in that than the actual pyramids were in Giza,
Damn.
the great city of Benin. Yeah, you should take a look at that. Like this is
Yeah,
nothing new
that'd be
on the
something
continent.
that's gonna be something to dig into. All right, let's get back to this here because there is, I think there's a building in Germany that you got to check this shit out.
Okay.
The school consists of 9 modules arranged radially around a courtyard, protecting the central space from wind and dust. A series of steps creates a loosely defined amphitheater, which accommodates informal gatherings as well as assemblies and celebrations for the school and wider community. The walls of each module are built out of locally sourced laterite stone, which lends them their striking deep red color. When first extracted from the earth, laterite can be easily cut and shaped into bricks, which are then left in the sun to harden. The material provides an excellent source of thermal mass, absorbing the heavy daytime heat and radiating it at night.
Mm.
A secondary facade made of local eucalyptus wood wraps around the classrooms like a transparent fabric and creates a variety of shaded intermediary spaces between itself and the classrooms where students can
dope.
gather informally to wait for their classes. In these spaces, the organic vertical elements produce a stunning play of light. The classroom ceilings, made of perforated plaster vaults, diffuse indirect sunlight in order to improve the light quality while avoiding the heat otherwise caused by direct radiation. Wind towers located at the back of each classroom allow hot air to escape, thus helping to further lower the interior temperature. The sculptural forms of these towers stand out above the main body of the building, creating a landmark in its surroundings. In order to minimize costs and reduce material waste, the school's furniture is made from local hardwoods and steel offcuts from the roof construction. Care Architecture designed Xylem, the gathering pavilion for the Tippett Rise Art Center, as a quiet, protective shelter. Named to evoke the vital internal layers of a tree's living structure, Xylem is a place where visitors of this vast outdoor art space can gather to converse or sit and contemplate in solitude. Located in a slightly sunken landform between the main facilities of the art center and the start of the hiking tracks, the pavilion nestles in a clearing surrounded by aspen trees, facing a small creek. Entirely carved in wooden logs, the pavilion invites visitors into the heart of the trees. The sustainable pine wood used for the entire pavilion,
That is cool
locally
as hell.
sourced from a natural
Right.
pruning process that saves forests from parasitic bugs, is used in its raw state. The logs of the canopy are grouped in circular bundles within a modular hexagonal structure in weathering steel, supported by 7 steel columns. The upper surface of the canopy is carved sinuously to blend into the surrounding hills. Simultaneously massive yet light, the roof is inspired by the Tuguna, the sacred gathering space of many small Burkinabe communities, a low-level wooden straw shelter that offers protection from the sun while allowing for ventilation. In the pavilion, sunlight filters through the vertical logs, creating a soft play of light and
Wow.
shadow on the curvilinear seating and polished concrete circular
I
platform
wonder what
below.
the sound was like
The
in that.
spatial complexity of the carved wooden seating elements encourages visitors to explore different views of the surrounding landscape. Xylem creates a link between Montana in the US and Burkina Faso, as it was built in parallel with the Naba Belem Gouma Secondary School in Francis Kier's birthplace, Gando. The Opera Village is the fruit of an exceptional collaboration between Francis Kier, founder and principal architect
Bro,
of
that
Care
is just like literally
Architecture,
in the middle of
and
nowhere.
the late Christoph Schlingensief, iconic theatre and film director and key figure of the German cultural scene. Schlingensief was first drawn to Care by his fascination with the element of participation that underlies many of Care Architecture's projects, and which he likened to Joseph Beuys' idea of social sculpture. The project lies at the crossroads of art and
That's an
architecture,
interesting
Oh
term,
a
shit,
social
dude. Look
sculpture.
at
thought-provoking
this.
concept built as a
What?
tangible manifestation, an opera
What'd you
house
say?
at the heart of a village. Rooted in Schlingensief's belief that performance takes place beyond the stage, the village becomes the backdrop
Okay.
against which the
Pause it
concept
real
Oh,
quick.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because there was a
Okay.
cool
All right.
term they just mentioned that I was trying to
Go ahead.
extrapolate.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they had mentioned this idea of social sculpture, and it's amusing because it's exactly what we're talking about now. It's defined as, quote, a phrase used to describe an expanded concept of art that was invented by the artist and founding member of the German Green Party, Joseph Beuys. Beuys
Mhm.
created the term social sculpture to embody his understanding of art's potential to transform society. As a work of art,
Social
a
sculpture.
social
Yeah.
sculpture includes human activity that strives to structure and shape society or the environment. The central idea of a social sculptor is an artist who creates structures in society using language, thoughts, actions, and objects. That is exactly the
That
topic of
is literally
discussion.
what we're talking about.
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah. So I thought that was a cool term to
Yeah.
keep for the record going forward. But yeah, go ahead, fam.
Okay. All right. No, we got just a couple more minutes. We're almost done.
played out. Central to the concept of the opera village is the idea of something perpetually unfinished and continuously developing. A respect for the
I like
importance
that.
of slowness and an appreciation of the course of maturation. In this, the compromise between the fluidity of art and the formal nature of architecture is evident.
Okay, wait.
Although there is
What does that look like to you?
I see a spiral.
What kind of spiral?
It's reminding me of nebulae you see in space
I was gonna say
on some
Fibonacci.
metaphysical.
I
You
was gonna
said
say
what?
Fibonacci.
Well, that's the spiral, isn't it?
Yeah,
That
I was
that
gonna say,
that
like,
Fibonacci
yeah,
sequence is
he's
exactly
literally
it. So you see
using
it
the
in shells,
Fibonacci. You see that?
right? Yeah, it's the same sequence. It's that spiral sequence. I bet if
Wow.
they measured it out and did the math, it would. What is that? The 1.6.
It's fuck.
It's half the distance
What is the
multiplied
number
by
for that? What is the
1.6.
number?
I
How does
think
it?
it's 1.6.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's like 1 point, and then it goes. It's a string of fucking numbers after. But
Yeah.
this is a Fibonacci spiral. Look right here. This is the tail right here. This is a
And it
Fibonacci.
just goes out,
That is fucking
makes
crazy.
fractals.
And look, he does it within, right? All of this right here. This is all natural land, by the way. So they sculpt the so okay. So just real quick, bro. This is gonna have to be a whole other live stream, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you listening, okay, essentially what we're talking about is cymatics.
Mm.
This is cymatics.
That is gonna have to be another
Exactly.
conversation because
This is
that's getting
actually
into
what this is.
sacred geometry and
Exactly.
lay
This is
technology. Yeah, go ahead, fam.
yeah. No, I'm just saying that's what this is. So this is going to be for another live stream. Okay. But that's what this is right here.
a project plan, it is being built in stages,
I mean,
adapting
look
to
at the
needs as it comes
physical
into being,
representation of
with
it.
some elements perhaps never actually being built.
On the
The
ground,
design,
you don't
as
see it.
first imagined in
But
2009
look at
by
that right
Pierre
there.
and Schlingensief, consists of the main structure of the opera house surrounded by housing, workshops, ateliers, a school, and a health center. Since
Odo said
2011, a number of the buildings have been
1618.
constructed in stages
Nameless.
for and
Yeah, I
in
just saw that in the chat.
Okay.
surrounding
All right.
community, using clay, wood, and
Riddler,
laterite stone found on
Stephanie.
site.
Okay.
The as yet
Y'all,
unbuilt
okay.
opera
That's
house
what's
at
up,
the
y'all in the
center
house.
of the
Stay cool.
village is
What's going on,
envisioned
y'all?
as a
Peace.
spiral, its open-ended form symbolizing the
Finish this up,
freedom
and
of
I can do
possibility.
formal acknowledgments.
To mark the 50th anniversary
It
of
looks like
Mali's
a fucking
independence,
spaceship.
the
Hold
National
on.
Park of Mali in
Did you see that? What was that? Look at that. What is that?
50th
Can you
anniversary of
imagine
Mali's
what it looks like on the inside?
The National Park of Mali
Cool.
in Bamako was refurbished and reopened with the addition of several new amenities. The 103 hectare park sits within a 2100 hectare reserve of protected forest, which acts
Look,
as an important
okay,
green
wait a
Just
minute.
love how they integrated the trees with all of
Okay,
that.
we were just talking about this earlier today.
Yep.
What were you telling me about the integration of technology and nature?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. Like we're only scratching the surface on a lot of these things, but again,
Man, look at that.
people who live in these first world nations, I keep not first world, these
In
first
quotes.
world nation. Yeah, you know, the first
Yeah,
people, so to
quotes.
speak, you know, there are reasons why they adopted these styles of living. And I keep saying, and I'm gonna really reiterate this point. I think we had a mastery of this stuff across the planet, really, in the
This is
1600s.
this
And
is
then
this,
just
this is proof that this is I don't is this new? Honestly,
no, it's
all
not
right,
new.
okay,
It's just now you can update older models with new modalities of
yes,
expression and building due to technology.
yes,
So what
yes.
would have been impractical at a time can now be practical. You
Mhm.
know, we have the advantage of all these advances in society from all fields. It's all interdisciplinary in nature.
Mhm.
And you know, what's to say that they can't create a specific kind of biome that synergetically works with that to
I mean,
where You
Go
see
ahead.
this in like
Go ahead.
sustainable
Go ahead.
communities already. So like when there's a need for a lot of this stuff, people figure out a way
But
to make it
this
happen.
this what I'm looking at right here. This looks far more integrated. We've seen the like the people who maybe kind of like the death, even the buildings that he was doing out sort of like in the more kind of like remote areas of those buildings, right? They look like modern structures that are literally suited for that environment, that have all of the proper amenities,
Right.
right? And then we go to this environment here, and look how embedded it is here.
But that's what I'm saying is
Mhm,
the ultimate objective. Like when you take a look at some of these smart cities that are being built, especially 'cause I keep thinking about Japan, because I
mhm.
that's where I first saw this. A
Yeah.
lot of the infrastructure, not the infrastructure, the architecture already follows old school Edo, which is 1600s philosophies behind things
Mhm,
about not wasting material, having
mhm.
things that don't require things like nails. Like, I think you've got it in your shorts right there. There's a building right there done in the same style in the middle of your shorts.
Which one? This
Right
one?
there. Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay,
it's
wait,
built in
we'll
that
go to it after
style.
this one. We'll go to that after this one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, this is not a new idea. It's just with the technology available now, it's more practical. So when you combine it with
Right.
already established tradition, like your ability to create, and the key term is create a synergetic relationship
Yes.
with the environment you're building in. So you can create things that suit your needs without disrupting the environment and potentially
Yes.
adding to it.
Yes. Let's finish this video up, and then we'll get to that short, and then, because I think we're an hour in, and then we can go ahead and
Yeah.
if you want, you wanna drop the link, and then you just chop it up and kinda expound on all the shit?
Yeah.
That sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, alright, let's go ahead and finish this one up.
growing capital. As part of the first phase of this ambitious project, Kira Architecture was invited to
Trees!
design a number of built interventions throughout the park, including points of entry, a youth and sports center, a restaurant, public toilets, and kiosks.
He needs a
All
skate
buildings
park.
are
I'm
externally
sorry.
clad with natural stone from the region,
Seeing what I see.
heritage while cutting
Try to
these
shred up and down there.
Yeah, dude, come
Elements of
on, what
deep
are we
and
talking
stone
about?
roofs also helps to balance the interior climate of
Dude,
the
look at that.
buildings. Large overhanging roofs offer generous shaded spaces
Holy
around the perimeter
shit.
of the buildings and
With
allow for
rock
natural
and everything. Look at
ventilation.
oh,
The
man.
buildings are designed to rely entirely on their passive cooling systems, although certain buildings offer the option of sealing their roof vents in order to operate with air conditioning. Aiming to take full advantage of the spectacular views over the park and nearby lake, the restaurant is located on a rock formation, nestling on different levels that reflect the natural contours. All the buildings in the scheme are linked by a pedestrian network, which also connects with the National Museum, as well as various natural attractions. To create a sense of
Wow.
unity between the interventions spread throughout the park, the buildings all follow the same architectural language. We hope you found these 8 fascinating projects worked on by Debido Francis Kier as inspiring as we did. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up.
Okay, wait,
Subscribe
let me
to
do
our
it
channel
right
for
there. I
more
just did
design
it. Okay, I gave it the thumbs up. And let me share this. I think you guys need to this guy has a couple of TED Talks and various discussions on YouTube. Oh yeah, thank you, Ryle. Yeah, that's right. Fair use. Okay, that's the video you just saw there. And then let me get you the other one that we showed here.
Yeah, that
The
first
brother
one.
up in Oakland, right? The AR augmented. So what say you, Nameless? And then we're gonna do a quick little intermission. We'll drop the link, and then we'll get a nice little chop up going. So what say you about the AR, the AR as the augmented reality, sort of that sort of visual space, that physical space that has a technological overlay that, like you said, literally is just kind of untapped. We're just scratching. And then on top of these types of building schematics, right, that we were just looking at, where it's more embedded into the environment, what say you? What happens if we marry this all together?
I think it's a natural process. I think we do this anyway. I think we got to. You've already kind of talked about it before when you mentioned this idea of hermetics. And when you get into concepts like hermetics, we're talking about metaphysical expressions and ways that we interface with reality. And what I said was a while ago, actually, a couple times this topic comes up, is that augmented reality is going to give us a window into the after, well, the unseen world or the spirit world,
Mhm.
in that the space that that place occupies, in the absence of it being sacred, there is an extra dimensional space with which we formulate ideas and can express things. And the idea was that you had special people who served as medians to gain access to that space, whether it be through ritual or gifts or what have you. Now we're going to be able to casually access a kind of in between space with regard to that, that it's going to cause us to think differently about these things. And I already spoke about, again, it's an offline conversation about
No, you
potential
guys, but
dangers of having a preference to the alternate reality space versus the reality space because of how more malleable the augmented reality space is going to be. And
so
if
would you think that the okay, would you say that the brothers' application of augmented reality is more of in the video that we watched, right?
mm,
That's more of the actual type of application we want as opposed to what you're talking about, the other side?
I think they both go hand in hand. So
Okay,
the
okay.
focus was, let's condense information and use this
Mhm,
as an extra dimensional means by which you can educate or
mhm,
store data. Now,
okay.
you could have just as much put an advertisement there, which is what I suspect is going to be used first for that. There's going
Ah,
to be a
God,
commercial occupation of
no,
it.
no, 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 Davis, no.
I'm just letting you know. I'm telling you, it's going to be the commercial game. People are going to look to
No,
find ways of
no.
introducing that. Welcome
Oh,
to commercials. You will be in your augmented
jeez.
reality thing.
You just
Flash
pop
your
you just you know what's what's the pop the balloon? What's that shit that they're doing?
yeah. Telling you, fam.
You
That's
just
probably
fucking
gonna be
pop
one of
the
the
balloon.
yep. It's gonna be one of the first
Damn.
uses of it.
Oh god. Okay.
You're gonna have to
Alright.
go through ads, and if you pay for this subscription, you can skip them.
Oh shit. So okay, so you know what? You're kind of smacking me with a dose of fucking Afrofuturistic reality, right?
I'm telling you, fam. You
Oh,
get
okay.
you get the
So so
positive and the
so
negative. You get the yin and the yang.
we gotta take the rose tinted glasses off,
Yeah.
right? And we have to okay, let's go here then. We'll go here, but I gotta go use the restroom. And then I posted a link for anyone who wants to come up. But okay, let's do that then. So the cons to all this then, right? Is that what we're
It's I hesitate to call it a con. I
not
just mean
cons,
that
but
I know what you mean. Yeah,
okay,
I
yeah,
just
I
identified
used
it
the
as
wrong word. Yeah.
I identify it as the yin and the yang because I see opportunity as being a simple modality. And
Mhm.
when you apply motive behind it, it can express itself however. And depending on your value system, that could be a way in. There could be people right now that are looking at the augmented reality space on something to commercialize and commoditize.
Right.
And it in and of itself will be a
Hey,
thesis to which an antithesis has to form or can form, where people will then form counter software or counter concepts to respond to that. And the
wait. That just happened. So I think I brought this up when we did like the 6 year anniversary last year. And I think it was like me and was it no. I'm trying to remember what last year it was with Super Triz maybe.
Mm,
And I was okay. So here's what happened. So my daughter comes to me one day, right? She says, "Dad, I can work for IKEA." I said, "No, you can't. You're a kid, right? You're not of working age." She said, "Well, IKEA is hiring for Roblox workers, bro. It's actually on the IKEA website. I'll pull it up in just a second. So check this out. She goes, they're hiring for IKEA reps in Roblox. I said, what do you mean? And then so she pulls it up, and then she says, she says, she goes, well, so what you do is you're a character in Roblox, and then you work in the IKEA store in Roblox. Now check this out, bro. What you can do is you can go into the store on Roblox, and then you can either buy furniture for your virtual Roblox property, or you can buy it for your actual house. And so the people working in there, they're actually working, dude. So you're sitting at your computer at home, and you're a fucking character in a IKEA store in a Roblox. And you're like, hi, my name's Judy. How the fuck can I help you? And they're like, hey, I want a crib for my baby. And they go, here, they're right here. And then you actually buy one. IKEA pays you $14 an hour to do this.
You know, it gets interesting because then you start having to ask the question, you know, is this subject to labor laws? And then, you know, it's a whole other dimension now of legislation that opens as a result.
Apparently, Ireland and Sweden don't have a problem with it. That's where they're
but you see what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, but that's where they're piloting this shit. But wait a minute. Wouldn't that be like the perfect job for a passport, bro?
Potentially. For anybody, really. I mean, if you just... But see, you know, what that means is what you'll start getting is digital parity behind tangible things you buy, potentially. So like,
dude, this is that weird ass middle ground kind of. That's why I was like, it's not necessarily a con, but let's seriously consider
it's a modality.
Exactly.
And then what happens when you're forming neurological adaptations to this as a child coming?
It's the new norm, right?
You see what I mean? Like, so now does your mind distinguish? Like, already we know that emotionally, we biochemically respond the same to non-physical stimulus as we do physical stimulus. So if we're so affected by images, and these images are largely in the realm of artificial reality or augmented reality, rather,
right?
Then you can start having real physical impacts on people using such a stretch, but there's going to have to be a field of study on this to see the extent to which this occurs. Because I guarantee you it'll probably be a difference in generation as to who's adversely affected by this or who could potentially use other things. And then on top of all of that, there are other technologies now where, let's say you get an implant and there's certain things that, and it's already happening with the Neuralink. Interfacing with augmented reality can now trigger stimulus in the brain to emulate other senses. So you may be able to physically interact potentially, and I put physical in quotes, but have a physical response to things that exist in the augmented reality realm potentially.
Which is scary as fuck. Hold on one second. We got Adele in the house. Hey, bro, what's going on, man?
How you doing, guys? Good? Doing good?
Yeah. You know, can you bump up your volume just a little bit?
What'd you say?
No, can you on your mic? Can you put it up just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'll sure I can do.
Okay. Just coming in just a little low, but we can hear you.
Hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. How you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Good. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm a long time, man. Long time.
Yeah, you know, we you know, we got busy, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
I know, me too. Me too.
Yeah, got busy with just, you know, business and life and careers and all that kind of jazz. But what do you have on the conversation, bro? It's been a while since we talked. I know in the past, man, we've had these types of dialogues, man. You've been in on it to really have something to say about it, Ado. So what say you about this conversation here?
I mean, in truth, I could talk about this like for hours, but basically, um, really, I like when we saw the the alert for the show. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I have to get on it immediately. Like it's right up my alley. Like I'm literally working in this space of like combine. I'm an artist, a painter originally, like by trade, but
Hmm.
but also I've been bringing together all art, technology, virtual reality, and like AI all together. You know what I'm saying? Like what I do right now.
Right.
It's like the hybridization of all those things together, basically, like to make new different things. And in reference to what you guys were talking about earlier in terms of like the architecture and the was it the social architecture, I think it was.
Hmm.
That's absolute genius for me because like that's how I visualize and see things in terms of like the symbiosis of people with nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is I'm gonna post these are the two links that Nameless dropped here for the walls of Benin. That's
Yeah, I
these
seen it,
right
boy. It's awesome.
here. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna post these. These are some very, very, very interesting reads.
Extremely.
So let me do this. Let me grab this here. Um, yo, Nameless, you there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm here, fam.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
the
don't know if you guys. Yeah, I just because I just saw these links here, so I just want to go ahead and post these.
oh yeah. I just wanted to put them in the back so that you could, see if you
Gotcha.
wanted to
Okay,
correlate
no,
them.
this is interesting. It's part and parcel of what we're talking about here. So I want to make sure that these are part of the conversation by making sure that they are archived in the chat here.
And what I like about Benin City is
Hmm.
that a lot of Wakanda was actually inspired by that.
Mm,
So when they got inspiration to build Wakanda as a visual expression, it was Benin City that took a lot of the I guess the image of it all. I won't call it a simulacrum, but it's an illustration of it's been done before. It can be done, and this is not a new concept per se. And I
hmm.
really believe human beings had all of the right. I, I will say that it had optimized social structure and integration into pre-industrial society, and that if human beings moving forward make reference to what was needed in the 1600s and apply a lot of the more modern technology that's available in the present, that
Hmm.
they'll be able to create things that are conducive to what their needs are
Hmm.
and will have space to advance going forward. Because I think that the idea in the 1800s and 1900s was these things are outdated, we've got to skip past it. And as I researched these various societies, from Asia to the United States to South America to other parts of Europe, even, the idea was we need to let go of what's seen as barbaric and uncivilized and replace it with this updated concept or ideology, irrespective of what the outcomes are. And
Hmm.
so there's just this scouring of the past where just because something didn't match the motif or the visage of something Western, it was eliminated, even
I
though
mean,
it had a real contextual meaning behind it.
but oh gosh, I mean, you're talking about the Orient and the Occident, right?
Mm.
The two sort of competing kind of artistic periods, right? If anybody's ever looked at Orientalist art,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I've been to museums like in the
Mm.
Louvre and also the Musée d'Orsay. They have a vast array of Oriental.
Yeah, there's a shit ton of it, and where you get like they call classical art. It's
Right.
it's literally a facsimile of Orientalist art.
Very much, very much.
When you talk motif, Nameless, what
New
you were
York Fashion.
saying. I mean, yeah, you look at the style. You look at the sweeping and the styling of the brush strokes and how the clothes look, how they flow, and all that. Like that shit was a facsimile of the Orientalist shit.
Absolutely.
That's why they
Absolutely.
hide that shit away and then give you the other stuff. Yeah, seriously.
It's funny how it ends up being that way. Like, isn't that the story of Western culture?
That's pretty much.
I mean, look,
Exactly.
we know where the cultural seeds came from, right? And then they
We
take
call
it and plant it in different soil and then claim that it was the origin of it all. But it's like, okay, so can you explain to me how you've got these, BC era shadows of what you're championing right now? Like, did that just someone time travel?
Say that again, though.
I was backing up what he was saying. I mean, he was like he talking just like the aliens did or something like that, right? As if they had been around that long on Earth. I mean,
Well, I mean, I'm saying it's like this is the reason why we decided to go into, and what we're doing is we're actually using 20th century art pieces, right? So steam, the steam goes into the 20th century, right? That's 1800s into the 1900s, right? Diesel comes right after that, right? So then diesel internal combustion, or ICE, becomes the primary mode of locomotion, as they call it, right? And then you have like different sort of art concepts that come after that. It's not necessarily technological, and we're talking Decopunk. So this is what we were largely looking at here with the building creation and all of that. And so we're tying it all together in terms of what Afrofuturism looks like, because when you literally combine all of these different motifs that existed during the 20th century, it now becomes literally the conversation that we just started this evening, right? Well, we've done some live streams in the past about it, but we're kind of like literally presenting it as now an open consideration conversation, like for everybody to have, because now we're looking at it in real time. We're looking at the augmented reality interlaced with buildings that are made with the same materials that the buildings actually, the land that they sit on, they use materials from that land to make those. But there's a high technological thought into its design in terms of, say, lighting, shading, cooling, all of that type of stuff, right? Heat dispensation. That's what that video was covering.
absolutely.
These are these types of things. My specialty, micromobility. Did you guys see an application with micromobility interlaced into all of that as well?
Well,
I can
absolutely.
say that thing is wide open for drone use. Wide open.
Drones, micromobility, right?
Absolutely. I
Now,
think
now, doesn't it start opening up here? Doesn't it start? Are we getting an actual picture in our mind's eye?
Well, when we're talking about these different, and I put this in quotes, punk suffixes,
Mm-hmm.
what we're talking about is the energy that animates that particular genre, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So each subsector is inspired by a different energy source. And, it's interesting seeing how a lot of these things, like this is, I guess, maybe the way we have to articulate these points because of the way English is structured.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this is just a returning to, I guess, human beings' natural proclivities to do this, because everywhere I turn, this is what people do when they're not interrupted with Western style industrialism.
Okay.
And
creating culture things, yeah.
yeah, so like
What was that? Don't say that again. I didn't hear him.
People naturally create and cultivate things like from the environment they're in, like
right.
a new form of
Okay.
expression. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Mhm.
just universal.
Right, to this day. So I'm saying, I guess there's a dialing back that can occur. But what's ironic is I see the third world having a leg up because it was kept out of its industrialization period because it was key to fueling it for other locations. So
Mhm.
now that the world is a bit wiser on some of these pitfalls, they're getting to skip all of these. You know what? It's kind of like how when an MMO comes out or a new game comes out, there's all these bugs that are wrong with it. And
Yeah.
then after a couple patches, if you held off on buying it, you go buy the second iteration of it with patch 2 point whatever.
Mhm.
They've ironed out all the bugs. There may even be some DLC. So you don't have to go through the nonsense of trying to log on to the
Oh,
game and you've got thousands of people waiting to get on, et cetera, et cetera, et
yeah,
cetera.
you're talking about like even the shit that we do with the sim racing stuff, because that's what like ACC is and stuff. It's all DLC based,
Well, but you
right?
see my
And there's
point though,
always,
like
yeah,
when the
because there's
game,
always fixes and shit,
right?
right? Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the third world, I'm saying, is benefiting in general from this because now it can learn from the mistakes that first world countries have made. And it can jump straight into, it doesn't have to go through this long, drawn out diesel period. It can jump straight to hybrid
That's
electricity.
see, that's always been our position. I'm sorry, Ado. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think he's right. I mean, like, they basically they have all the knowledge of the past, as well as the knowledge, as well as the observational knowledge of the present. They can combine that with the materials the new materials they have now, to basically to just to circumvent like the pitfalls James was talking about earlier. For instance, with
I would.
drones, microbillion and drones and stuff like that. They could make that a thing where it's ingrained into the landscape.
Well,
And they,
I think they're doing it. Mike V was over in Africa a few months back. I would have to look up which live stream it was, but he showed the video footage where they're showing dude e-bike factories. Now, see the part that's kicking my ass, right, is I have a shop where I do the e-bike and the e-scooter thing, right? And it's just me laboring in the hot in fucking California, dude. Our shop literally almost burned down. It was a field fire today because it was so hot, and it almost hit the building where we're at. But so I'm just saying, like I got a damn shop I'm working out of. I'm doing customs. I'm doing building them by hand. I have built one today. Customer picked it up. All that shit. I look over at this video. I look at this video that Mike. I look at this video that Mike shares with me, in that he shares on a live stream, and there was like a damn hangar sized building that is an e-bike factory, and
really,
yeah, there's a few of them. And the problem I'm having is I'm like, okay, so supposedly allegedly this is a third world country, but micromobility is sort of like the wave of the future. They're the ones with the factories, and we're not.
yes, that's wild.
I
Everything's
fundamentally
important.
see something wrong with this picture.
Everything's
Um,
important. I understand that.
say that again, Ado.
It's all of our technology in terms of microbillion is imported here for the most part, and the simple there's no factories here. There's no innovation here. Like
There,
U.S.
but
made product.
here's the thing: there can be.
Yeah, I know that.
Um, First of all, I would say largely, let's just say brothers in, say, like this space that we inhabit here, right? On YouTube, they call it Manosphere or whatever. We call our specific channel Manosphere 3.0. This is the Brain Trust, and our platform is Manosphere 3.0. So everything that we espouse follows a certain technocratic philosophy. So everything is centric to that philosophy, right? Um, with that, though, we have repeatedly beat the drum on this. There was a talk. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He did it at the business Harvard Harvard School of Business. That's what it was. He did a talk there. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and he goes, basically the talk is essentially in a nutshell. He says the micromobility companies of today will be the car companies of tomorrow. Now, if you were to ask like how we covered like the likes of C.R. Patterson, people like him who were able to be pioneers in this. But by and large, there really weren't too many black-owned car makers to really be able to crack through.
Yeah.
So we're now in this new technological paradigm where we have a new sort of transportation wave happening, right? And it's happening on the micro level. I would say this as somebody who's hands-on in it. Now is literally the time. If Spawn, the programmer's listening, I did email you back, bro. So just tap me and let's talk. Um, he's interested in all of this stuff. A lot of people are interested in this, but it has to be a larger thing because if we talk about like wealth and all of these types of things, we have to understand what an opportunity curve is. And you have to know like when you're right at the cusp of it, if you're just a little bit before it, which is where we are right now. This is not a maturated market or industry by any means.
Infancy.
It's still largely unregulated. It's about to become regulated. And see, when things become regulated, that's when that's when you've arrived. So the question becomes, do we act on this shit? We've seen the brother acting on the AR augmentation shit. Nameless said it. He was like, dude, that's just a scratching of the surface of what can be done with that. I don't even know what the fuck could be done with that. Outside of what I've seen, I'm curious to know what could be done with it because it seems like it could be a lot. It's augmented. There's various things that could happen with that, right? My head couldn't even really put it together. I'm on the IoT side of things, right? I could tell you a whole bunch about IoTs and bots and e-bikes and scooters and shit, right? So it's about how all of this melds and meshes together to where it looks like that very lush sort of scenery we saw with the building embedded in it, but there's hella tech also in it. Like I think that's where we're trying to get to, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, basically what we're talking about is, I mean, the high is like everything coming, the fourth industrial revolution, everything coming together, but mixed and augmented with forms of the past and like different and cultural different cultural aspects that are melded into new that are fused into new forms of expression. Um, there was the book I read an audio book called The Coming Wave, in which it talked about basically the systems and system oriented things and how design systems will change based upon people's orientation in terms of the orientation, distance, and all those kind of things will go away, and time and all that, time and space will go away. It'll all be about the computational power of now, how to create things now, instantaneously. That's abstract. That's useful and tangible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's there's an actual term for that where it's kind of like computation because nameless, you mentioned it earlier, where it's like the data gets crunched so much to the actual.
Oh yeah, they've got
Yeah, you were
quantum.
talking about it. Yeah,
They've
that's
got
what
quantum clouds that do a lot of the computational work for a lot of these things, and all you need is a receptive device. And this is getting streamlined, and I don't know what that looks like for certain industries, but I know for damn sure it gets disruptive because there's a lot you can do with a PlayStation if you don't have to have a video card on there and you don't have to worry about on machine memory outside of maybe a chip, or your ability to store that information can be done in a new form like light codes or crystal codes. I don't know if you know
like
about
on
that crystal
glass.
data yet, but
Yes, yeah, storing shit on glass or some. I've heard about shit like that.
I've been looking into that like, like photonic communication and data and circuitry. They're working on that as well. It's actually
There's some new they're from my understanding they're about to release like some sort of new CD technology because it's so funny how um not having things on a physical format can really kind of cripple you, right? In terms of your own sort of intellectual property and that sort of thing, right? So I heard about there's a new sort of CD, literally compact disc that's being developed, right?
mhm.
Do you know how much storage space it's going to have on it?
Teraflop.
It's like 200,000 gigabytes.
Oh wow.
It's a disc. So they're talking about bringing the CD back. You have people pulling all of their music and shit like that off of the streaming services, and then there might be a shift back to. And I don't know if this is a part of what we're talking about, Nameless. I don't. You guys can tell me. This sort of reclaiming of one's creations,
I
right?
think I saw a lot of this happen. I'll
Yeah.
put a link in the back too.
Okay. Hey,
That's touching on some of the science.
hey, Nameless, go ahead and rock. I got to just use the restroom real quick. I'll be right
Oh
back.
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so specifically when we talk about data storage, and this is kind of like always been a bottleneck for a lot of technologies and things that can be enabled, your ability to store information and the different forms that it can take. And while there has been a propensity to move towards non-physical property, I suppose you could say, that comes with it some downsides. I think one of the biggest outcries with regard to that lately has been in the gaming industry, where you'll have, I guess, around 2001, you started seeing a small shift as data became easier to store on other mediums, a lower dependency on purchasing physical products and a greater emphasis on downloading content. And as a result of downloading content, they would use streaming methodologies to gain access to a lot of that property that you purchased. And so the argument became, from starting around the 2010 era, it really got pretty clear that the gaming trend is going to go towards people streaming their gaming experience rather than going out and purchasing hard disks and cartridges. And as a result, when you started seeing a lot of these services, that some of which their entire library was digital, once they start closing down, you started running into a situation where people essentially were being cheated out of things they purchased. If
Mm.
you got something from an older platform like a PSP, for example, and you gained access to what you purchased by way of the online store, and you downloaded it digitally, and it required an active subscription of some sort, or perhaps there's components that are locked behind downloading something. Even if you paid for it once, the moment they discontinue the live service, you no longer have access to that media. And there's a big outcry going with regards to that. And as it stands, for a lot of the current things, you may have massive libraries and stuff. I think recently one of the Xbox gaming libraries is no longer accessible or won't be in the near future. And some people have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of things they've purchased that they're just going to go away once that live server shuts down. So the outcry for having an alternative physical copy of things is definitely getting louder. And again, this is my subjective experience just from the gaming side of things, but I'm sure that extends to other kind of modalities of media.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for instance, like you were saying in terms of physical storage, it might go back to like the USB sticks for your gaming data. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or, like, or basically, or your whole Xbox situation is basically a USB stick. And you put it that it's localized or connected to the Wi-Fi. and then you know what I'm saying, you play your game, whatever, and then all your stuff is stored on your physical drive on your that you can take with you somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, you can even think of something like movies and music you've purchased on streaming services. Like, I think it's benefited a lot of corporations to get a very quick and fast buck because when you do a live streaming means by which your media is distributed, you no longer have to worry about the logistics of tangibly getting discs or other physical media from point A to point B.
Exactly right. So much. It's a far simpler, streamlined thing. But the drawback is something goes wrong with any of the digital information. It's gone. It shows information. Information's gone forever. So the money that was invested into it. So that's the issue, I think. Um, that's also my issue in terms of digital currency. Like, what are the safeguards for that? You know what I'm saying?
You said the safeguards for what?
Consumer
Digital,
protection against people
yeah,
purchasing things on digital formats because they're the only way to acquire it, and then
Eh,
they terminate the live service, and now you've lost access to something you paid for.
No, I would say that that's Mike's realm. Honestly, Mike could give you the whole skinny on that type of stuff, right? So, because like in Africa right now, right, they do use a lot of digital money applications and stuff to pay for things and all that kind of stuff. See, so in a lot of places, it's more present than it is here, right? We do digital payment. We do it through our phone, right? So if you use RFD, like I'm sorry, NFC, near field communications, like if you have like Apple Pay and you just use your phone, if you have an iPhone, right?
Mm.
That is a form of digital payment. Um, it, it's really just about the economies
Well,
of
wait, we're not
they,
talking about the currency. We were talking about the actual tangible media and the consumer rights to things that they paid for. And at first, we were
oh,
talking about the video game industry and how a
mhm.
lot of games they started moving to
Oh,
digital
that shit
content.
where you
Right,
buy it
right,
but
right,
you
right,
don't actually own it
right.
really. It's
And
that's
then
bullshit, dude.
they discontinue the live service, and so now you've got this whole library of things you no longer have access to that you paid for, and
Hmm.
so it effectively gives your media you've bought a shelf life, harkening back to why there's a demand now to go back to more physical media in different places.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's what this article is about, right?
No, I was actually talking about how just different means by which data is now being stored and how the digital cloud will run into use of some of these things. I was talking about crystallized data and
Yeah,
using
that's what this is.
photons as a means of
Do
data
you see this?
scripting.
Yeah, do you see this right? I think I have the screen share. Do you see it?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
talking about
that's
here.
what this is right here? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So let's go into this right here. Light-based memory chip is first to permanently store data.
Yeah. Look at the date that came
Okay.
out.
Let's see here. This is from September 2015. Robert F. Service. Let me do this before I forget, and we'll go into this article here. Yeah, Stephanie, light based. We are going to go into that right now. Yeah, so let me just put that article there, and then we will get into this. Okay. This is from science.org. Today's electronic computer chips work at blazing speeds, but an alternate version that stores, manipulates, and moves data with photons of light instead of electrons would make today's chips look like proverbial horses and buggies. Now, one team of researchers reports that it has created the first permanent optical memory on a chip. I mean, that makes sense. Oh, God, dude. Really? Hold on one second, dude. What? I thought that was not the case anymore. All right. My bad. Okay. I'm very positive about the work, says Valerio Pruneri, a laser physicist at the Institute of Photonic Sciences in Barcelona, Spain, who is not involved in the research. It's a great demonstration of a new concept. Interest in so-called photonic chips goes back decades. That's what I thought. I didn't think this was a new
Mhm.
idea.
No.
And it's easy to see why. When electrons move through basic parts of a computer chip, logic circuits that manipulate data, memory circuits that store, and metal wires that ferry it along, they bump into one another, slowing down and generating heat that must be siphoned away. So, if you guys ever wondered why sometimes, depending on what your computer's doing, it just wicks up and the fan kicks on, that's what it's talking about. That's not the case with photons, which travel together with no resistance and do so at, well, light speed. Researchers have already made photon friendly chips, photon friendly, uh, with optical lines that replace metal wires and optical Wow.
Yep.
But
Now,
the part
I
that.
wanted to highlight the date for
Go
a
ahead. No,
reason,
no,
but
go ahead. Go
definitely
ahead. Go
keep
ahead.
going.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Because this is all happening at the same time as them finding ways to transmit that data now. And
Yes.
now that was the bottleneck, but bottleneck as of very, very recently, as I'm gonna link to you in just a second.
Hey, Nameless, your volume dropped a little bit. Can you say that again?
Oh, yeah. I
There you
was
go.
saying that the bottleneck was transferring the information over distance. And so now they're beginning to find the beginning building blocks on how to address that bottleneck. So now
Okay.
you've got the hardware that can handle that. It's lighter, no pun intended, and using
Yeah,
photons.
there's a little bit of pun. Stop it, dude. Oh, go ahead.
But now they can do it. Now they've got the potential infrastructure by way of optic cables to support that. And
Mhm.
again, this is opening the potential of an even higher speed internet that just opens
Yeah.
up new possibilities that offloads a lot of the cognitive work from the equipment and
Mhm.
leaves it all server side.
Okay. Let's see here. But the parts have some serious drawbacks. The memory circuits, for example, can store data only if they have a steady supply of power. So that's gonna essentially where you're gonna need like power wall type systems
Right.
to keep that going, right? Because that'll give it the steady supply, right? Especially, in high
Or hyperconductive materials like certain.
with the problem. Well, I guess. Well, I was gonna say, you know what? Actually, when I think about it, solar panels are conductive materials, and like anything else, they degrade over time, right? Because that was gonna be my point, but
Yeah.
they all do. Okay,
But
yeah,
the price compared to what they're
yeah.
spending now is like,
that
you
that
know what
is,
I'm saying?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
part to
yeah.
that.
Okay, let's see. So when the power is turned off, the data disappears too. Ooh, no way, really?
So you can have constant state.
That's where you're gonna have to
Right.
redundancy. You
Right.
need redundancy. Okay. Now, researchers led by Harish Bhaskaran, a nano engineering expert at the University of Oxford in the United Kingdom, and electrical engineer Wolfram Pernice at the okay, Car Karlsruhe. How the fuck you say that? Institute of Technology in
Karlsruhe.
Germany. Okay. Okay. Well, my German is not the best. Okay. I can say
Mine
like
either, trust me.
the alto, right? I can say that like really good. But have hit on a solution to the disappearing memory problem using a material at the heart of rewritable CDs and DVDs. I think it's a dye. Let's see. I think that's what they're talking about. That material, abbreviated GST, consists of a thin layer of a thin layer of an alloy of germanium, antimony, and tellurium. What the fuck? Really? Huh.
Yep.
Okay. When zapped with an intense pulse of laser light, GST film changes its atomic structure from an ordered crystalline lattice to an amorphous jumble. Okay, so that I guess it
That
becomes
facilitates photons a
something
lot
that
easier.
you can basically put some information into at that point, right? It
Yep.
becomes
Yep.
okay. These two structures reflect light in different ways, and CDs and DVDs use this difference to store data. To read out the data stored as patterns of tiny spots within a crystalline or amorphous order. Okay, that's what we were saying.
Yeah, the
A
crystal.
CD or DVD drive shines low intensity laser light on a disc and tracks the way light bounces off. I mean, okay, so does your pre-existing CDs and DVDs work with this, or is this a new type of CD or DVD machine?
I mean, it's probably the difference between Blu-ray and old school CDs. You know what I'm saying?
So certain machines are Blu-ray and then others aren't. Wait,
Right,
Blu-ray can play both, right?
right,
And
right.
then DVD, the regular can't play Blu-ray.
Correct.
Okay.
But they may bypass that depending on the type of play medium they want to use for that. So, like, this is just opening up a new modality here and introducing
Yes.
crystalline based photon data storage, which is the point
Mhm.
I'm making. Like, that in and of itself
Man.
kind of bypasses the
Cool.
problem with traditional electromagnetism in using the current chip system that we have. You know, this
Wow.
opens the gate for massive amounts of storage, and the kinds of devices that will be able to run that is a bit more
Mhm.
unique and fundamentally
What if
cheaper.
you could like just start like manufacturing old ass like CD players and shit? I mean, like the
Oh, and
McPherson.
retroforming them to use
Yeah,
this new
retro.
system.
Wow, dude, that it's oof. Because that technology is so cheap.
That's it's the accessibility point that I'm highlighting here.
Right, right, right.
And that's why a lot of this stuff gets bottlenecked in the beginning, because if you've got something that's so cheap, how do you justify a high cost in selling it? You know, your
Okay.
service costs
So
can only
so
go so high.
I know we said we were gonna save this. Okay. I know we said we are gonna save. So is this speaking to the holistic versus reductionist type of situation?
Kind of, yes, because this you hear terms in other fields like interdisciplinary to
Mhm.
describe a holistic perspective, but you know, there's certain industries right now that are really suffering from a lot of these modern problems. But
Mhm.
then you introduce something like this and you make it real easy to gain access to, and suddenly you're making something pretty complicated and expensive stupidly cheap.
I know, right?
And that in and of itself could be a disruptor into a market or open up a market that wasn't practical anymore.
So wait, okay, wait. So Stephanie, she's asking, so like fiber optics. Okay.
That's the next link.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it
Yes.
photon optics?
Wait. Adele, you there?
Yes. Is it would it be called photon optics? Even acting?
Well,
Would
it
it?
was called. Here's the. First of all, before I don't do it, let me post a link.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
no, I'm
called.
digressing the
I'm
topic
in,
slightly.
no. We're all good because we're still talking about future shit, right? Because here, let's do this. No, light based memory. That's what we're talking about. Light based memory chip,
Right.
and it uses
It's going from the electron to the photon. That's what we're
right,
talking
and
about.
it's a film. It's like this alloy film. Let me find that again, Otto, because I think maybe you dropped off because I had the screenshot and I didn't see the back, so I
Oh,
didn't see that you had dropped off. But it is. Let me find it. Yeah, okay. It's a photon friendly chip with optical lines. So Stephanie, yeah, kind of it really it is kind of like that. Yeah.
it's glass. A glass line, basically. It's like basically
Yeah,
instead of
it is.
no
And it
wires, it's just here.
but per the article, it replaces the I'm sorry, metal wires and optical memory circuits. So it's all glass
Oh,
essentially with an alloy film, a thin layer that consists of germanium, antimony, and tellurium.
anthony. Yeah, anthony.
GST as it's called. Okay, so it's glass with a thin layer of this alloy film.
So the key thing here, though, is the amount of data you can transmit,
Yes.
which is what the bottleneck is for quantum technology, which leads us to the second article I'm trying to highlight here. You know,
Mhm.
you
Wait,
it
did you put it in the chat? Let me see.
Yeah, it's the last
Okay.
one I
All right.
put there.
Let me pull it up. Okay. No, go ahead, Nameless. I'm just bringing it up
That's
now.
that's the big thing there. Like
Mhm.
with that, you now have a way to transmute and process without having a bunch of excess heat all of this additional data that you
Right.
would need to have I guess a secure quantum state or qubit state versus the electron 1 and 0.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that's just a lot of different potential possibilities to store. We just don't have enough data to receive this massive potential of of 10 to the second, third, and fourth power of potentials just to compute one circuit thing, just because you need accuracy.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and that's the thing. Okay, because we're gonna speak to this article here. This is the other one you sent right here.
Yeah, it's not very long.
No, yeah, that's fine. Um, because again, like, so for example, like, do with IoT and the things that like we do, for example, right? It's all edge computing, so it has more to do with the available data on your phone, and essentially how strong your connection is in terms of cellular tower triangulation, right? So because edge is in between the cloud and your cell phone,
Right.
right? You see, so on the IoT side of things, everything happens on the edge, right? That's kind of where my concerns in terms of connectivity. Nameless, you remember I was talking to you one time and I literally fucking cammed up and I showed you like the IoT, like the controllers and the GPSs, and I was
Right.
telling you
Yeah.
like the IM,
You were applying
you
it
know,
because that's how
yeah,
you have your
that's what I'm
payment
saying.
and rent and the use systems. Right.
Right, like that, like the IoT side of things happens literally on the ground. It's on the ground level, right? Um, and so like there's this cloud side with the quantum computing and all this other shit, and I'm like, damn, what I do just requires your fucking phone, that it that you have service, right? It's so in my head anyway. It's kind of basic, but there's a lot to it, right? Just like how there's a lot to this.
Well, what that's going to enable essentially is the activation and utilization of things like drone fleets simultaneously.
And yes, yeah,
You see what I mean?
yeah.
Like the amount of things that then become possible
Mhm.
skyrockets. And the thing is, because it's not using precious metals to do a lot of this stuff.
No,
The
no, you're
price for this
using,
stuff, the
yeah,
accessibility for it.
you're using a lot of pre-existing shit, right? Like, so what drones use, brushless motors, right? Brushless motors are everywhere. Propellers are easy to make. Plastic is very simple. You know, it's easy to make a drone, basically. They,
Fam, just getting into that's a big digression, but just getting into the
no,
wartime applications has been freaking me out lately, man. I've been sending them to like Rael and Sandog. Like,
put it.
I ain't send you this stuff.
Listen. Table it. It becomes another conversation. For life stream.
Yeah, because
Table it.
this stuff, man.
Okay, I'm gonna before you go, I'm gonna stop you from going into it. So I'm gonna force you to table it because I'm gonna read this article. Put it on the table. That becomes another live stream, bro.
Right.
Okay. All right. So check it out.
We'll call it fourth industrial warfare.
Wait. What?
Yeah.
No, what?
It's
Wait.
table. We'll get back to it. That's table, dog.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. We got it. Okay. Quantum internet breakthrough after quantum data transmitted through standard fiber optic cable for first time. Okay. Read that
Peep the date.
3 times really fast. The study used a specialized
Wait, you peep the date, right?
Oh, this is from June 7th, 2024. Now, this kind of corresponds with the okay, I closed that tab. That was from 2015. The other one.
Right.
That's almost 10 years.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
just showing the scale on how
Yeah,
long
that's what
this
I'm
has been
saying. So,
worked
so,
on.
so for reference, the first article we covered was literally almost 10 years ago. That was from 2015. This is 2024. So this is somewhat hot off the presses. The study used a specialized photon source to transmit, store, and retrieve quantum data, a major component of quantum data transmission. A new quantum computing study claims that a recent finding in the production, storage, and retrieval of quantum data has brought us one step closer to the quantum internet. The quantum fucking hey, remember I
I
asked
told
you.
you that's why I
Wait,
wanted you to see this. You were bringing this up, and you thought it was speculative.
holy
Bam!
fucking
You
shit,
thought they were
dude!
speculating.
I,
Nah,
I
bro.
asked I asked Amos about some shit. Was it yesterday or was it earlier today? God damn, dude, that is crazy. Quantum. Okay, so let's do this. Fuck it. Let's go here. So I asked Nameless. I asked him a question, right? While we were kind of prepping for this live stream. I said, dude, are you familiar with like the Akashic records? Because they said yes. And I said, well, I don't know, isn't this internet shit? I was trying to make the internet analogous to it, right?
Well, yeah,
But
they can say so.
well, but I'm saying when you call it a quantum internet, now that right there, that does give off Akashic records.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it does,
because
right?
it goes beyond the physical.
That's what I'm saying. It's a quantum internet. What the fuck is that even?
It's a space
Okay,
Just understand what you're talking about is massive amounts
yeah,
of
that's what I
data
mean.
being
It's
able
like
to move
quantum.
instantaneously.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying. It's
we think
quantum
this,
internet.
but it's not only accurate. We're talking about crazy bandwidths that would let you upload stuff to like the moon potentially, and bypassing other methods that would be subject to distance, because now you're talking about information that's entangled. So consider, all right, just rock with this idea to give you an
Okay.
idea of what potentially could be possible.
hmm
Let's say they wanted to get into manipulating drones that they have on celestial bodies.
Okay.
They're limited by the scope and the bandwidth of information they can send. Well, with the quantum internet
Then
and quantum
you're
bandwidths,
unlimited.
you see what I mean? And so
Yeah,
now you can start doing things like
you could do
fabricating
some
massive amounts of
crazy.
data, making 3D printed materials on other planets, and then potentially,
At high speed. At high speed.
you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that, like what this enables you to do potentially, it's back to that word modality.
Manifestation.
What was that, Odell?
It's the manifestation, basically, of objects. Like you can create a materializer from that. You know what I'm saying? And from the quantum internet, from a 3D printer, and some other stuff. And you know what I'm saying? You can do this, you can get a material.
But
I mean,
furthermore,
I could even imagine, dude. Like, if you're talking about this type of shit, Nameless, right? Think about this, right? So you're talking about micro machines that then create bigger machines.
I covered that with transhumanism
Uh huh.
and getting into how there's a lot of medical things you can now do, because that's expanding outward with regard to being able to 3D print and we'll take away 3D printing. Just being able to utilize entangled data,
Yeah.
quantumly entangled data. Think consciousness now.
That's what I mean. When you're talking quantum internet, like you're literally talking like it's like what they call it, like a not spur of the moment, spur of thought, or I'm trying to think what like when a thought like it's almost the that time period in the mind where there's realization then idea, or when the light bulb moment, you know what I mean, that kind of like that split second. It's almost as if it's like the internet will function at that split second speed of what you're talking about. See, so when it comes when things become quantum, like humans can't really perceive time faster than they already do.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Right.
You see, so if
No,
anything
no,
is
right.
quantum, it'll be beyond what a
Talking about
human.
reality simulation at that point, as
Yeah,
far
it'll
as
be
data is
beyond like the
concerned.
scope
Right.
of a human, but then because so for example, it's so fast that if you're slower, it's okay. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah.
Right?
does, but I'm
Because
speaking about
there's a modality for you, so to speak.
well, I'm looking at applications of things like implants. Then what you then can do with AI, like now we're talking about potential emergent intelligence because at that point it's calculating so fast, doing so
And it's
much that
embedded,
it
like
can
okay,
emulate. Right? You see what I'm
right,
saying?
okay,
Like it
okay,
can,
okay.
if it's not intelligent, it's emulating it to a point where we don't know the difference.
Hmm.
Like this is all things that they're gonna have to bottleneck this stuff. But I'm wanting to show the means by which to make this happen is not only being worked on, it's
But
largely
it's
here.
already it's in labs, fucking being tested.
Now imagine what we just talked about with augmented reality now, and
Right.
then the accessibility
Which
of
you've already seen in application. We showed it.
right.
Go ahead.
So and then think about being able to terraform environments at that point. So the first things are going to be probably dealing with
Oh my
pollution and
god.
carbon emissions, and we'll learn how special fungus and
Sustainable.
super drugs. And
Yeah.
when I say super drugs, I just mean different components that can be created thanks to quantum computing
Right.
that finds a biochemical structure that's stable that addresses a problem.
Isn't that called there's a term for that. It's called it is called
Quantum mechanics.
was that Odell?
Quantum mechanics.
Wait, it's kind of hard to hear you.
When the computer, it's called quantum immortality.
No, 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 no. I'm saying there's they do this thing. It's a pharmacy. So what it does is it kind of they tailor medicine to sort of like your DNA profile.
Yeah,
It's a term.
yeah, okay. You do an mRNA profile,
No,
basically.
no, not that. No, no, not that stuff. It's more of a pharmaceutical, right? See, so what they do is, so for example, if you had to take some sort of steroid for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, you had to take one, right? But because of your body chemistry, right? Like let's just say you don't really do well with like acidic environments or stuff like that. So what they do is they actually compound pharmacy. There we go. I got it. Compound pharmacy. Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
Compound pharmacy. So what a compound pharmacy is, it essentially tailors the medicine to you. It's not just a hey, 250 milligrams. Take two of these and call me in the morning. They
Personalized.
actually, yeah, they actually tailor the formulation to you, right?
Not only that, they're looking at using the nanomachine technology potentially,
Hmm.
and connected to things like WebMD and whatnot that would
Yes,
enable
yes.
the medicine to actually be disseminated to the specific system in your body that
Hmm.
it's needed in. And one of the bigger treatments this is looking for is addressing cancer medication, for example, chemo.
Dude, oh my god.
Like
Because
this
that,
stuff is
tell you something, man. Like, I so wish this is shit. I there were people I used to talk to about this type of shit when my wife was going through what she was going through because she was in the 10%. Okay, Hodgkin's lymphoma is literally the easiest easiest form of cancer to cure. It is a cancer of the lymphatic system. Okay, it is literally one of the easiest to cure, unless you fall into the 10% of people that have an adverse reaction to the chemo.
Mm,
And guess where my wife fell into?
wow.
That
That
10%.
was this would have been key. The term
This
they're
is
using for this is
exactly
called
it,
the
bro.
term the
Yeah.
term that you were looking for
Hmm.
is called precision medicine.
Precision medicine. I'm sorry. There it is. Thank you. Thank you,
And
bro. Thank you.
it,
Thank you.
it's cool. Yeah. And
Okay.
a lot of that, it's kind of an encompassing body of information
Hmm.
that they can track so many different metabolic systems. But remember what I told you,
Yeah.
just like we learn in ninjutsu, where you've got the in, there's the yo, and where there's the yo, there's the in. And I
Hmm.
see this being potentially a question of ethics, because do people want to be injected with something like this and realize, and this is the only way I see this working, someone's going to make this available on a subscription based model. I don't know if they're going to have a law where, and it may be relative to the country you live in, where access to this stuff is freely given, or you've got to have insurance to pay for that. And these things are subscription based, and that you unlock different functions off predicated on a premium.
Did you see this right
Like,
here? I have the screen sharing, but I didn't see these comments there. So
oh yeah, my
I didn't
bad.
see, yeah, no guarantees. He said Nvidia just said in their 2024 keynote speech that they now have have a quantum computing emulator. An emulator? An emulator.
Well, have you seen? Well,
What?
two things. I
Excuse
know a
me?
lot of the right there. You actually can get access to some of this stuff now. Let me see. And
An
it's free, I
emulator?
think, if you open an account. Let me see what's that.
Wait a minute. An emulator?
I would include that.
What? Stephanie, you said the black lady could kill cancer with lasers. I'm not getting sucked into the multiverse. Yeah, stay all the way the hell out of the multiverse, please.
Yeah, if you go to quantuminsider.com, they've got about 63 that you can download.
Emulator? Can you
Yeah,
post that link in the back? Let's throw that in there too.
give me a moment.
Yes, sir.
And I think
Wow.
it's a pretty old article though.
Oh
but
my God.
they've got this lined up because they need people to use this stuff so they can stress test it.
Hmm.
They've made this available for a while now.
I just now that I've seen this, I'm my interest is piqued.
Yeah.
Mm. Is the link right here?
Yep.
All right. Let me see. Holy moly.
Yeah, you can pretty much do any language you want on there. Everything's covered, fam.
Jesus. I didn't know we was gonna be doing this nameless. God damn it.
I mean, it's all interdisciplinary. I
Beautiful.
No,
told
it's
you.
all,
That's
no,
what I mean
dude,
about.
I'm ribbing you, bro.
Oh,
It's all
this,
good, man.
this is great.
Shit.
And
Okay.
even Google has its own that you can use right now. You
Oh,
just go
wait a
to
minute. There we go. Hold on.
Google Quantum AI. It's right there.
That's the other term. That's what I was looking for right there. Pharmacogenomics. So let me tell you something about that. Thank you, no guarantees. I
Based upon
appreciate.
your gene pool.
Yeah, hold on. Let me make sure he's modded up. Let me get your mod status, bro. There we go. All right. Okay. With regards to that, so what sent me down my kind of like my cannabis path was after that first dose of chemo that my wife got. So she had congenital heart failure after that first dose and literally almost died. Okay. So they were able to revive her and everything. At that point, her heart reduction had reduced by 70%. So if she were to take another dose, it would have more than likely killed her. Okay. So we made the decision to go the holistic approach. That is what kept her around for 3 years. Right. That's
You
how
got to see it in effect at a worst case scenario.
exactly. Right. That's kind of why I know these things, because we had to make the very, very, very difficult decisions based on what was going on. So I ended up meeting a brother who was a friend of my wife's cousin. He lost his mother to something somewhat similar. It was a cancer thing, right? And so he started lobbying for cannabis laws to be passed in the state of Illinois. Because my wife is from Chicago. That's where they're from. It's a brother named Evan Hilton. You can look him up. Very, very, very solid brother. Um, I owe a lot to him. He was the first to have a cannabis-based pharmacogenomics lab in Illinois. This is a brother who did this. That was the term I was looking for.
Okay.
Thank you, no guarantees. Thank you. That was the term because it was actually in the business statement and everything. It is a pharmacogenomics uh, company, and what it does is it uses DNA
Oh, the genome
profiling.
and drill, right?
Yeah, it uses your
Because they're
DNA.
doing this with the gut biome now.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. There's all these different methods, but they do it based on your DNA profile, and that's what it's called, pharmacogenomics. Okay, this is what he's saying. Compounding pharmacies are only allowed to manufacture medications based on concentrations that do not already pre-exist. Okay. Okay. So that's what I wanted to get clear on. Thank you, no guarantees. So compounding pharmacies do put medicines together, but like he's saying, there's a condition, right? And then there's pharmacogenomics. That was what I was actually trying to reference here. Okay, genomics is literally based on your genome. It's literally tailored to your genome. And his company was to utilize cannabinoids to do that. Yes. The company is called
You already got
Green.
receptors for that, so that's
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly.
So
Yes.
did he get into like things treating like neurological issues?
I have to,
whatnot, and-
well, yeah, that was the whole thing because he was dealing. One of the people on his board was actually she was the head of laboratory research at the University of Northwestern. This is a sister. Her name is uh Jewett, I think. I'm trying to remember her name. Jewett. I'm trying to remember her name.
But you know
So
what? That makes sense because you're already noticing that because of folks that have higher melanin concentrations, etc., and people who tend to come from different geographical regions or maybe belong to certain haplogroups. Like this was a suspected thing for a long time now.
mhm.
So nah, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And you know, that's why. And bro, Nameless, I swear to God, I appreciate you for doing this live stream with me.
All good, pal.
Because this, I knew there was a way we could. There's a way to do this where we can kind of tie a lot of this in, right? What's happening in real time, what's emerging, what's pre-existing, right? And it gives us a trend model. It gives us something to go on, right? Remember we were talking about engaging the imagination, and that gives you the inspiration to then go about creating something, right?
Right.
And so it's like we have to kind of see these things in real time to get kind of like that kick in the ass, so to speak, right? Like, wait, we can do that?
Well, my big thing lately has been twofold. Revisiting herbology, and I came with an affairs
Okay.
with of totally changing or adopting an alternative career path
Hmm.
where I went and got an official credential for herbology and really started going in that direction to address health and wellness in general
Hmm.
because I'm a firm believer that the basis behind a lot of these things is already out there in nature. And combine that with a lot of esoteric texts coming from old school. And understand when I use this term, I don't mean a religious undertone, but
Hmm.
hoodoo. and hoodoo specifically when it pertains to using the herbs for the purpose of root work to solve and address ailments.
You know, I use herbs for work.
Well, you're already on the same page. But I combine that with what I've
Mhm.
also been learning and practicing with things like cultivation sciences,
Oh
um,
man,
China and Japan with Senjutsu. So there's a whole body of work that's just kind of waiting to get integrated that essentially got abandoned during the modern industrial era. I'm
yeah,
finding all of these scrolls from this circa 1880 to
dude, I
1920 period.
know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking. I know what you're
And
talking.
and the
Exactly
stuff,
right. The Enlightenment period.
No,
Yeah.
he's talking
well,
like these manuals,
I know.
they were they
Yeah.
were
these
denounced as
medicinal
pseudoscience
manuals.
and quackery, but
Yeah,
I know exactly what
damn,
you're talking about.
the
yeah.
stuff I'm learning and applying and practicing now, like we've got the technology that's actually proven a lot of that stuff to be true. It's just at the time they didn't have the ability to necessarily prove it, but you've got
It's
whole
like
fields that are going to open up.
You know what? You know what, Nameless? I'm gonna have to go back. Okay, I'm gonna do this after Rael does his next live stream. I'll do this one after him. It's gonna be the Old World Technology series because that's actually in support of his shit, right?
Okay.
So I'll do this one after that, bro. I gotta show you these advertisements from say like the 1910s and shit, right?
Oh, wait, let me say the point I was going to make with that.
Okay, okay, go.
The particular body that's being grouped into is being called biohacking.
Biohacking, yeah.
And when you run biohacking philosophically side by side with traditional Chinese cultivation and Japanese senjutsu, they're almost saying the exact same thing, but in different languages. It's just one's taking a Western approach towards these end results, and the
Dude,
other
it's like
is a more spiritual. It's hilarious how similar it is.
let me tell you something, man. It's no different than, if I say boom bap or if I say like beat tape shit and then you say lo-fi.
Mm.
Right?
Right.
Lo-fi is a new term for something pre-existing.
Fam, they've been doing this stuff since the
You know what I
BC
mean?
era and beyond.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the amount of information they've acquired is so useful now because we have the actual technology now to not only validate it, we've mapped a lot of this stuff. The human gut biome project they did. The human, what is it? The human gut
Oh.
biome. I think that's what it was called, where they did a genetic map the same way they did the human genome project. And they were able to essentially map the gut flora and all of its purposes and all of that and start
Oh
creating
yeah.
specialized treatments to address that. That was being talked about in inner alchemy and Chinese cultivation.
Oh,
When you talk about the Emperor's Yellow River, what is it? The Yellow Emperor's Book of Medicine. All of that's covered in there.
but isn't because okay. I'm gonna step away for a second. I need to grab my daughter something. But okay, let's go on that for just a second. I'm gonna step away. But look, what say you about your intuition existing in your gut?
Every
You would think
biochemical
that
process neurologically
yeah.
starts there, right?
Okay. Elaborate. I'll be right back. Elaborate.
So when you consider the image of the actual yin yang, you've got, I'll put this in chat. Hopefully it'll give me the image. No, I gotta do it on my phone. I don't have an available image. But if you take a look at a picture of a yin yang, you'll see that between the dark and the white portions, within the deepest part of those colorations exists the opposite color. And
Precisely.
yeah, in Taoism, that's making reference to the inner aspect of that emerges the other. So that if you use the top portion that's normally the yang or the white portion, that's called older yang. And then the yin, which is typically black, that's within that yang portion, that little black dot, that's called the young yin. So when you look at the correlation between the body, and it's funny, you can kind of use my icon sitting that's on the screen here. The yang is the head, essentially. But within the head is a darker dynamic that animates it. That would be the younger yin. That's where that other dot would be at. Then if you go just below the belly button, that's the center of the gut. That's where the yin is at. But within it, it's got that white portion, that younger yang. There is already a line of effect by way of the parasympathetic nervous system that connects the head
Absolutely.
and the gut. And there's actually
And the
more
heart.
neurological connections that lead there by way of a nerve bundle called, I guess, the vagus nerve. And
Correct. Yeah, they're looking around the back of the neck down to the spine. That's correct.
in martial arts, we call this the channel of control. When you get into more of the Indian sciences, they call it the root chakra. And all this information travels up and down. And what they're finding is that there's just as many, if not more, neurological connections that go to the gut than are in the actual brain itself. And they're learning that the two operate in concert with each other. So that it's so much so that a lot of the thinking, a lot of the heavy lifting gets outsourced to the gut, so to speak. So like the way we even understand our own physiological expressions of thought and autonomic behavior, I think it's pretty misled. And it's interesting when you get into the deeper aspects of it all, because even when you get into our DNA, when you look at the cells in our body, the actual cells we have, systematically speaking, let me word this carefully. The way our systems in our body are organized, it's like you've got a 10% true self that has DNA that gives directive to other cells that the body adopts. In other words, I think there's a small percentage of our cells that are actually us as human beings. And the rest of the cells in our body, for the most part, by and large, are largely recruited. So we have these overseer cells that direct other cells.
Well,
So
isn't
we
the
are a
cells
system.
aren't the
So what?
cells that are recruited? Aren't the cells that are to be recruited? What do they are those? See, there's cells in our body called free radicals that can become anything, right?
I'm not talking about that process per se.
Not
You're
that. Okay.
right. You're
Okay.
right. I'm
No,
speaking
okay.
about the order of operations
Okay.
as to how our systems are organized.
Mhm.
It's like we have us, which essentially use other cells to cohere them to perform functions that our body does.
Mhm.
And I'll use an example of, since we were talking about the digestive system and the gut biome, I use an axiom to describe how to improve your health by saying, when you eat food, you're not eating food so you digest it. What you're doing is you're eating food so the bacteria that's in your stomach can digest it and produce the fuel for the other cells that are there.
Wait,
In other words,
you cut out slightly. Repeat that, please.
when you eat food, you're not eating food for yourself. What you're feeding is the bacteria that's in your stomach that in turn goes on to feed your cells.
Gotcha.
And so you have to treat your gut biome like a garden. The way you would treat a garden is what you're eating for. So you got into compost recently.
Yes, I did.
Complex.
Yes.
It's the exact same principle.
I understand. Yes. I understand.
Right. So that's speaking to the systematic and synergetic nature, where the idea of the human body is an emergent of multiple systems working synergetically with one another, to the point where even on a cellular level, more of it is recruited from the outside than what we would intrinsically call your body. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a different way of viewing yourself. But if you're in the spirit of fixing problems that occur and looking at the value of how to create optimum health and
hmm
create all of these non-communicatable diseases, which quite frankly are the product of the Industrial Revolution. This is
Right.
how you begin to address it. And this is again another
Yeah.
means by which the fourth industrial
It-
revolution can assist
and
in
but this
addressing.
is how but this is what you were saying. We're kind of just basically opening up this box on
Exactly.
this sort of Afrofuturism conversation, because as again we're gonna use this is gonna have to be a word that is gonna have to become commonplace. Modality. No, seriously. I use it a lot. You use it a lot,
It
right?
explains so much,
hmm
and I think it's fitting because we have to. I won't say change per se, but include different ways of looking at the same thing because we now have different editing software to do it with. And we can
hmm
extrapolate so much more useful information from things that, at least on the outside, appear to useless.
hmm
Because now that we know these things currently with the Human Gut Genome Project, going back and looking at stuff that was considered quackery from the early 1900s all of a sudden is having all of this hidden value volume because now we can actually trace it. We can actually see the tangible result. Not only that, we can emulate and simulate a lot of these
That's
materials
what I
that were
mean. You got
used.
these emulators and simulators and shit, right? You have these models that we can use. You know.
Yeah, fam, that's what I wanted to highlight with, with regard
hmm
to that to
Okay.
reconsider possible.
Now, Rael says integration of technology into the human experience gives us the ability to look at things from a multiplicity of perspectives. Now, I agree with this, and see. So let's key in on the word multiplicity, right? Because wait, hold on. Okay, that's Rael right there. Um, uh, the thing about it is that we're the ones creating the shit. We create all of this, even the minutia, the actual conversations that happen in within the scope of these technological platforms, i.e., YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, X, you name it, right?
Mm.
These were all human creations. They're a form of technology. There's an algorithm component, which then kind of jumbles up the mix. And then next thing you know, you have this multiplicity of things as per Rael right here. Rael, you there, bro? Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Oh, hey, what's up, dog?
Yeah,
Hey,
what's
what
good,
up,
Ryle?
man? What's good, man? What's good? What's
Shit,
good, man?
chilling.
Good. Piece of the panel. Piece
Oh,
of the
wait.
chat.
What's up,
Nameless, you say you
what's
gotta
up,
cut out.
Ryan?
You gotta cut out soon, man.
Yeah, it's almost 2 a.m. for me here, fam.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna hold it long. I didn't know how long I was
Okay.
gonna go, but I wasn't holding it long anyway. I just wanted to chime in and just
Okay.
say a little piece, man. This is just a conversation is just really a great build because um we're connecting dots, and so um as we connect these dots, it's interculturally, like we're piecing ourselves back together too.
hmm
And so you know the stuff that we've been covering for the last probably 2 years now um has really been moving toward that purpose. And so um, when we these are no, these type of conversations to our group look like anomalous types of conversations, but When we look at ourselves from a historical perspective, we are a scientific people historically,
Right.
and so it's our nature. It's who we are, and so you know, it's almost like we're almost kind of like putting our cultural brains back inside our heads. And so, it's a good thing to be able to connect, because a lot of us, we do our research, and we try to piece things together, and we're like, okay, I got a little piece of the puzzle over here, and then we link up with somebody else from a whole different place, and you know technology is showing us like, okay, there's other people in our group that's thinking like myself.
Right.
So okay, I ain't crazy, I ain't off my rocker out here.
Exactly right. I ain't crazy.
So it's just really important to really have these conversations, because like I said, this is who we are from a traditional standpoint. And we're not, it's not saying that entertainment, it doesn't have its place, because it always has, because it's always been a part of the human condition. But it can't be a mask for our fear of getting to in more detailed and in-depth style type of conversations that bring about actually solutions to issues that we may have as a group. And so when we talk about the conversations about the Booker T's and stuff like that, we're not having these conversations because we're just talking about it from a like, okay, well, he was against Du Bois, and this is some East Coast, West Coast type beef and type stuff. No, it's like, what was the modality in which he was operating? He was trying to create a pipeline of inventors, scientists, businessmen from the lower school levels to the higher education level, ultimately to the business organization level. So you're talking about literally creating. That's why I call Tuskegee an incubation center. It was a cultural incubation center that created a
Yeah,
pipeline.
before your Y Combinators and shit.
Right. Before anybody, people was even looking at it from that perspective.
Right.
And, that shows you how far advanced he was thinking and understanding industrialization and how we fit into that modality in terms of how it affected production, especially seeing how it was not replacing the agrarian-based economy, but putting a different spin on it through technological advancement. So we needed something that allowed us to learn how to interface still with that modality in terms of the agrarian base, but at the same time infusing that with the new industrialization based economy that was coming up on the scene. And he was really, really far ahead of what many of us have realized as a collective. And so, this is something that was normal for us, to have somebody like George Washington Carver, creating different energy sources. Like, that's not a small feat, man. You can't just dismiss that and be like, oh, that's just George
Dieselpunk is
Washington Carver.
because of him.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to really look at like how this man is really the father of green technology. Like, that's who he is.
Yep.
That's who George Washington Carver is. And so when you look at all these things that people try to push as like, oh, green tech, and like they're the avant-garde of this kind of thinking, it's like, no, you're not. You're not that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got that from us. And so, to be able to send boys to Tuskegee to learn from people like him, like, this is true elder, initiation in bringing about the cultivation of the mindsets of young men into the proper way in which they need to be thinking. And
hold on. What the hell?
Well, hey there, gang.
Wait, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so bringing about the proper way into which we needed to be thinking based on the times that we were in. So we got off the train through a lot of cultural, infighting that was, we behind the scene, we be talking about this stuff. So, but
Hmm.
this is about getting the train back on the track, and really getting back to our proper place in terms of creativity, because we have always been ahead of the curve in terms of creativity. Even when it
Facts.
was even on the plantation, we still was creative. So that just goes to show you like who we are as a people, and how we can't allow um silly ideologies to stop us from really being at the forefront of technology and
Um,
innovation.
I just posted a link there. Stephanie was like, "Great music." That wasn't my music, okay? My music is playing right now. That music was actually from the channel that I posted there. It is called Unpacking Dieselpunk. I'm gonna reach out to this brother right here. He is a brother who actually does a Dieselpunk channel. Okay, go hit that channel up. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm gonna try to get a collab thing going on with him. All right, so he does that channel right there, Unpacking Dieselpunk, and the music that you heard was from his channel. That wasn't me, Stephanie. I don't, Anyway, uh, yeah. So, I know Nameless has got a dip. We're at the 2 hour 30 minute mark. Y'all want to get closing remarks because we're gonna run this back. Nameless, you good for next Friday? Is this kind of like good as far as a reoccurring?
Let me. I'll
Or just want me
put.
tapping
I'll
with you
put a bookmark on that for now. Thursdays are better for me, just because then the
Thursdays?
next day.
Okay,
Yeah, Thursday would be a little better.
okay.
But we
But
can do
we'll
this
do
next Friday. We'll figure
yeah,
it out. We'll figure
well,
it out.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. We'll talk about it. Okay,
Yeah, we'll
but I
figure it
want
out.
to be mindful of your time, dude. I know you got to bounce. So,
It's all good.
um,
It's all good.
yeah, no, we good, man. So let's go ahead and wrap it up then, man. Let's get closing thoughts, man. Ado,
That was my closing thought.
that was yours. Okay, Ado, you there, bro?
Yeah, yeah, man. Closing thoughts. Basically, this is a great stream. This is the kind of stream I look forward to talking on all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I could talk forever. I mean, I'm happy to come back on the next stream and chop up on whatever subject we got. You know what I'm saying? So this is
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
You know what I'm
It's been
saying?
a minute. It's been a minute since we've done something like this.
Yeah.
I think now is the time to get back on this type of shit. Just
For
kind of,
real.
kind of given, just everything. I think now is the time.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. Okay. Um, Nameless.
Think we got all our bases covered, fam. Just take a look at this on the playback, and this is just the
Yeah,
beginning of a very long conversation.
yeah.
I think
I will.
that would be
I will.
pretty useful in inspiring ideas, because everything you see in the physical world around you began as an idea. In martial arts, we learn that the void is the origin of all elemental expression. It's why a lot of our techniques, they get classified by way of their elemental affiliation and association, because they embody an idea, or today's word, modality. But they have to begin in the void, that nothingness from which everything spontaneously manifests from one way or another. And the key to succeeding in most conflict is realized in this idea that they call ken no sen, or to
Mhm.
intercept the opponent. And the idea is, with enough experience, you learn to recognize the subconscious formation of any physical expression, and you learn how to move before the opponent. Rather than trying to react to what they do, you perceive what they're going to manifest from the ether, and you intercept it in a single move.
Right.
And that's how you intercept and, I guess, stifle the opponent, by seizing the initiative. And you learn very quickly that this concept extends to far more than just talking about technology or in a combat scenario. It's literally when you're dealing with other human beings, this is the way you address that. And I guess at the end of the day, whether we want to admit it or not, this is happening irrespective of our awareness of it. And being aware of these things gives you an opportunity to move from the realm of being taken advantage of and not having the initiative, and at least having some agency with which you can launch a probable or a possible response that's in alignment with your value system. And I think that's essentially the goal, man. It's you take a hit better that you see coming than one that is completely outside of your range of perception.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll say this. For, you know, well, we did this. We covered the art piece. There's more to dive into it. And that'll just be as, we brainstorm on other live stream concepts. However, for this one, I think we hit the mark because we did tie in real world examples into our sort of ideation of Afrofuturism, like literally actual practical application. We've seen like actual shit, right? I asked you, I said, well, does micromobility fit in this? You were like, absolutely. I'm like, okay, so I would say I'm hands-on in this. We're all contributing to this, to what this future notion or idea, like what it looks like, right? And I think that more conversations about this needs to happen so that the vision or the picture can be crystallized more. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think. Well, I mean, you say you're doing micromobility, the scooter micromobility thing. I'm an artist. I also do design things. Right now, I design. I'm doing like the drone concepts in terms of like delivery, and things like that. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I mean, making drone concepts for civilian use. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff that's sort of the practical aspects that can be done with using all the technologies combined together. You know what I'm saying? And making it useful, practical right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, because the application is actually there to make it useful in various applications, right? It's a matter of um, adoption and exception and implementation. So with that, I want to be mindful of Nameless's time. I know he's got things to
Right,
do tomorrow,
correct,
so
correct. Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and cut this short. Ado, Rael, Nameless, I appreciate y'all for pulling up, um, putting in on this conversation.
Welcome to
No
the club,
guarantee,
homie. Welcome to the club.
no guarantees. Stephanie, let's see who else pulled up over here. Let's see, because I think everybody Chaos Rain. Okay, so Bronze Bird. Okay, I didn't even see Bronze. T Riddler. Okay, I'm scrolling up further. Senku. Okay, Miss Raining Woman. You was there too. All right, that's what's up. All right, I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Um, like the live stream. Thank you, Miss Stephanie. Like the live stream. Share this. Subscribe if you haven't. We will be back, Rael, tomorrow. Is that what we doing? Are we doing it tomorrow?
Yeah, that's the look for it. That's the look for it for
We're gonna do
tomorrow.
it tomorrow. All right.
hmm
We'll be back tomorrow. Me and Rael will be back tomorrow. So with that, I'm gonna bid y'all adieu. Pieces. We'll talk to y'all in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.